We're talking to Stan Shelton, fresh off a huge win at the NHRA National event in St. Louis, Missouri, as well as Christie Meyer-Johnson, who will be checking in with us as we bear down on the Stampede of Speed at the legendary Texas Motorplex. Let's do this thing, guys. Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered, this is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing. Prove me wrong, I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. Hope you're doing well out there. Huge shout out to all of you. Remember to click subscribe, join us, join this movement as we do the hard work, the Lord's work, though, spreading the gospel of drag racing and keeping people fired up. We always talk about it here on Drag Illustrated and the Wes Buck Show. It's easy to be fired up on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? When we're out there kicking tires and lighting fires, doing burnouts, having these side-by-side drag races decided by thousandths of a second, pretty easy to be excited. But it's here during the week where we got to keep the energy levels up, and we appreciate you guys joining us each and every week right here on Wednesday afternoon to do just that. We got a hell of a show lined up for you today. Fresh off a huge win at the NHRA National event in St. Louis, Missouri. We're going to hear from Stan Shelton, his first NHRA career national event win. We joke all the time that like there's nothing like getting that first Wally, and once you've got one, oh boy, drag racing is it's a mean one, right? It's an addiction like no other, but it really gets its hook in you after you put one of those Wallies on the shelf. So I'm excited to talk to Stan, and then about 15 minutes before the hour, we'll hear from Christie Meyer-Johnson from the Texas Motorplex as they run up on the Texas Stampede of Speed, one of the biggest productions in all of drag racing at this point in time. Monumental event that includes a music festival, bull buck out, match racing, an NHRA national event, their annual championship banquet, all sorts of stuff. I don't know that you can have a whole lot more fun at an NHRA national event than you will at the Texas Motorplex for the NHRA Fall Nationals. But before we get into that, let me introduce my co-host here on the show, JT Hudson, Mike Carpenter. What's up, boys? You having fun?
What's up?
Yo.
Darren Aldridge checking in from Australia. I had a couple of good conversations last night with some old boys from Australia that are very interested in participating in the Drag Illustrated Winter Series. I think we're going to have a full offering of international competitors involved
and fans too, dude. We hear more from people traveling from Europe, Australia for that event. And I hope those people are planning on joining us in December and parking it there for 3 months.
I think that's the coolest thing about what this series represents and what I'm so fired up about is it really is our opportunity to own a portion of the calendar, right? There's this moment in time where there's very little other things happening in the motorsports world, specifically in drag racing. You've obviously got some competition from stick and ball sports, primarily the NFL, but by and large, we're going to be able to gobble up the available attention of the masses and really shine a bright light on what's happening at Bradenton Motorsports Park and doing it at a singular location. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there was many late nights that I laid awake going, oh, it'd be cool to go to this track and go to this track and move around. But there is something special about Bradenton Motorsports Park. You hear me say it 1,000 times. Some of these tracks have a soul. Some of these tracks have an atmosphere, something that kind of extends beyond just the function of the facility. Bradenton's one of those tracks. And I'm excited to be able to kind of keep the party going for a full 3 months and be embraced by that greater Bradenton, Tampa, Sarasota area. That's probably the most exciting part. About 50% of our ticket sales come from that greater Bradenton area. So for me, I feel like it's always going to be the icing on top of the sundae, the cherry on top to get this international involvement and people traveling from all points of the globe to be a part of this. But to really achieve scale and grow the way we want to continue to grow, we're up 20% year over year. to continue that trend in terms of fan turnout, we've got to deepen our roots locally. We got to get more people involved locally. So that's what we're really focusing in our energy on this year. But man, racers coming from all points of the world.
That area, it looked like they were bracing for a impact from Hurricane Helene, and I know there was damage in that area, but the worst of the damage ended up being north as the storm tracked north. I know that's something we wanted to touch on here today. Here in my home state of North Carolina, I think we got it as bad as anybody, especially in the western North Carolina in the mountains. And I'm sure everybody's been following a lot of the relief efforts that have been going on. And I really feel like drag racers and the racing community has shown out during this time. And we continue to see that. We've seen Cletus McFarland, Garrett Mitchell flying his helicopter, joining I don't know, what was probably hundreds of independent helicopter pilots and owners flying in and out of there, because all roads are closed. All roads are shut off. The area is isolated as it is. There's only a few roads in and out to begin with, but there's the entire area is cut off except for helicopter rescue efforts. And it's going to be such a long recovery for that. And we've seen Lyle Barnett. I think he's putting together supplies. And then further down south, we've got Nate Prater just running supplies back and forth every day, taking care of people down there in
bringing
his area.
Fuel for people, bringing ice for people and water.
He's really down in the Augusta area. So, I mean, really just that whole path from like the Florida Panhandle up through North Carolina mountains is like a path of destruction right now.
Well,
so
I will tell you that it warms my heart to have seen it stinks. It's bad that it takes a tragedy like this to remind you of like people's good nature by and large. But I do think that's the silver lining here, is that like, how can you not be proud of our fellow man, right? I mean, seeing these people, I mean, Garrett Mitchell, the Cletus McFarland personality, is a fantastic example. Here's a young man that certainly doesn't have to do anything at this stage in the game. He's got the resources and the infrastructure around him to pretty much do as he pleases. And for him to choose to take his wife and put himself in harm's way along with his helicopter to go out and do all that he can to deliver supplies to people in need and rescue wives and children and people from various very tough predicaments. I mean, I just think that's a pretty incredible thing, and exactly what we look for these influence, and there are these people that are influencing thousands and thousands, if not millions of young people. That's an incredible example to set for them. And it's also been great, like you said, Mike, Lyle Barnett's efforts, Nate Prater. There's been a host of others. I've seen dozens upon dozens of people actively engaged in trying to help people get involved. And it just makes me feel good. I hate that it takes a tragedy to have these moments, because I'm with you. I was reaching out to Vic Alvarez and a bunch of my friends down in the Florida area right outside of Tampa that I thought were about to really have a rough go of it with the storm. But then the next thing you know, it's moving north, and it honestly didn't even occur to me to be honest. Like this could happen.
None of us
so
around
far
here.
Inland.
I mean, it really was not predicted to be that. I think it was kind of a perfect storm situation with like another front coming down out of the north that held the water there, or held the storm over us. And we'd had rain in the days prior. So really just like a once in 1,000-year deal that was everyone was unprepared for it. So I think that it led to a lot of the catastrophe that you've seen here. But it's going to be such a long time before that area recovers. And what's tragic is the mountains of North Carolina and the whole Appalachian area in the fall is like beautiful. One of the most beautiful areas probably in the world this time of year. And it's there. That place is just chock full of restaurants and breweries and tourist locations, bed and breakfast, hotels, you name it. And all those businesses are shut down, destroyed, or even the ones that were going to be operational or could be are no one can get there. So they're going to miss out on their peak time for business. So even if you're not in the area, search social media. Red Cross is probably the most widespread one that comes to mind that you can donate to. There's tons of ways if you're not in the area and can't donate supplies or participate hands-on, if you're in other parts of the country or the world, for you to make an impact on that as well, because it's a very rural area. It's not it's a lot of people just with, simple means, simple lives, and small homes and businesses that are really honestly cut off from the world right now.
A lot of vacationers got caught up in it too. I mean, the whole thing's terrifying no matter where you're from. But could you imagine having your kids being on the mountain, something you're not familiar with,
in an area you're not familiar
demographic
with,
that you're not familiar with, or neighbors, or where the closest store is, or anything, man. And then to get trapped in something like that, I mean, that would be, that'd be awful.
And our first guest here today, I'd like to bring Stan on, someone here in the area in North Carolina, close to me, that actually has several businesses that are involved in this, good or bad, helping people out, and helping take care of the situation. So I know he can speak to that, and we'll get to Stan to talk about his win as well.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for the man, the myth, the legend, Stan Shelton. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Stan?
Hey, good to see everybody.
He's got a friend with him back there.
Yeah, that's right. Check out Wally. Wally's watching with us. That's right.
Thanks for joining us, man. We do. There's a lot to talk about, very exciting, positive things, but I do think it would be remiss not to give you an opportunity to address. I mean, this is near and dear your heart, this situation. Stan, for those that don't know, you call North Carolina home. You've got a considerable footprint in that part of the country with your various businesses. So could you give us a little insight onto how you guys have weathered this storm? No pun intended.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys mentioning that and bringing that and making that paramount in your show today. We do have, if anybody remembers Bristol, for the Pro Mod class, Cardinal Insurance was the powered by sponsor for Pro Mod. They have been for the last couple of years. Gosh, we actually got a lot of drag race fans in the mountains. We gave away 400 tickets to fans for the last 2 years up there, and big supporters of it. So we have Cardinal Insurance is in Spruce Pine, Bakersfield, and Newland. And as you'll see on the news, you'll see those names mentioned pretty often. And, we were at St. Louis Racing with Heavy Hearts. I talked to my manager on Thursday, and he said that first front that came through really was getting them in bad shape, and they closed the offices, and then the big storm came through and dumped about 30 inches of rain, and hadn't heard from anybody Thursday through Monday. And of course, everybody's worried about everybody's safety and just want to know everybody's okay. And finally, we got a call on Monday from our manager there, Mike McKinney, and said that he had dug his way out, cut down about 15 trees to get to the mainland and get to a little spot in Spruce Pine where he could call out and let me know all of my employees. He knew where they lived and knew they were probably okay and safe and their homes were, but just total devastation. But, these people in the mountains they're tough. And this has punched them in the mouth, but I promise you they get up. And they will get up and they will be better than they were before. We just got a lot of resources right now to get in there and give them stability, give them communication is the main thing. Thank goodness for the helicopters like Garrett. He led the pack of bringing that in and getting that started. And thank you so much for him. So we're looking forward. It's going to be a tough road, but these people will bounce back.
I agree with that. And it's like almost every time one of these things happens, you can't help but feel like the silver lining will be how we recover from these things. Like, I talked, for years and years and years, it was, we boo-hooed about, all the damage done by COVID, but I found myself on the other side of that feeling like we'd learned a lot. We'd been forced to make some tough decisions. We'd been forced to get better at what we do. We'd been forced to toughen up, right, and be more resilient. And a lot of those things that we may not have ever been faced with having to figure out, you never want to, but if you can find a positive in it, you want to try. And I agree with you, Stan. A tough part of the country that's full of hardworking, blue-collar, good-natured, red-blooded Americans that will certainly find their way back. And we'll be keeping them in our thoughts and prayers. But I got to ask, man, speaking of something special about those people from North Carolina, what's up with these reaction times? Oh, I mean, I was going through this, Stan, and you were unconscious in St. Louis. I'm going, this is not what you expect. I mean, it really is. Like, you see some of these young kind of up and coming guys that have really leaned into the limelight, that are known for being good levers. But you were 0-10, 0-13, 0-11. In the first 3 rounds of eliminations. It calmed it down a little bit in the final, but still very respectable with an 0.47 light. But did you come in with something of a chip on your shoulder, Stan? Did you feel like it was time, or anything changed, or anything that you kind of made any sort of difference or an impact on you that had this created this performance?
Well, my side of the team, we got two car team. We run my car, and then we run the 71 Mustang that Kevin drives, and that car has performed well this year. My son Reese is tuned it. They've had a really good. We fought a lot of gremlins. We had issues. My car was great last year, but gosh, when we got to the first race this year, it just wasn't happy at all, and couldn't ever find the issues. And finally, actually, I think it was after Epping where I didn't qualify again in my car, and Justin Bond, I think, was with my tuner Lee White in the airport. And they were talking about it, and we were talking about had a couple of rear seals leaking, and Justin Bond said, that rear end housing's cracked. And we were like, what? Anyway, we get home, and that rear end housing on the left spindle's cracked from the top all the way under the bottom. And you wouldn't believe how much flex that allows going down the track. It was trying to tell us something when the two seals leaked on it, but we weren't listening. And when we got that back right, the car started performing better. Let's just talk about a stout class. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about 9 different winners. I was the 9th winner in a season of 10 events this year. We have not had any duplicate winners. And
several first timers. I mean, obviously you, Mason Wright. So several first time winners.
Absolutely. So I go into the event, again, I've got nothing. We qualified. We only got 2 qualifiers, which made it even steeper. So we get in the show, and then again, everybody's a headhunter these days. I mean, you got Thorne and Lyle, and now you should add Jordy to that. They're like the ultimate headhunters. You know what? They're going to cut you down. They're going to take you out. And actually, it probably helped me a little bit. Thorne and Lyle was right ahead of me in the first eliminations. And, them two are going at each other. They're going to be a 00 something. And that's just how close the game is. Thorne goes 006 red. You know what?
I know, man. I mean, what do you make of, you've been part of this brotherhood, I think is a great way to describe it. A group of people, a community that has come together to really preserve quarter mile pro modified drag racing within the NHRA. A lot of our viewers and listeners are probably well aware of kind of the very interesting history of NHRA Pro Modified. I mean, this was a class that burst onto the scene as a pure exhibition and existed in that fashion for many, many, many years. And it saw ebbs and flows over time, where we would see times when car counts were really strong and the competition was really solid. But we would also have years and years of, seasons of, short fields, really struggling, cars that weren't, consistently getting down the track. There was different times that I was involved when we were actually kind of, I don't know how to say it, like kind of in the doghouse with NHRA, because so many of our cars would tear the track up or wreck or oil the track down. And we would be constantly doing damage control with the NHRA just to to convince them to let us come back. Yeah. Like, hey, we promise we won't wreck them all in Q1 again. Let us try it again next week, Yeah. And to see, and it's also one of the big storylines that have been a part of quarter mile NHRA Pro Mod drag racing was also these benefactors. Early on, it was Dave Woods, Tommy Leeper, and then it became Roger Burgess. Then it was in R2B2, and then we've had Troy Coughlin involved. We've had Sheikh Khaled Al-Thani involved in Al-Anabi Performance, and we've had a variety of people that have kind of led the charge. Jim Whiteley and the J&A service crew came to the rescue at one point in time and were the series sponsor for many moons. And it has always been kind of its success and sustainability has always been kind of like directly correlated to one or two power brokers. And what I think is important right now, the thing that has happened is that now that we have a community of people that are all swimming in the same direction, that share a common goal and are willing to, put their money where their mouth is when it comes to keeping this thing stable and providing the runway necessary to grow and do the things that they want to do. And Stan, I got to give you credit. Mike Janis, Justin Elks, I think deserves a heap of credit. Eric Dillard and the whole gang at Proline, Deb, Bud, all these, people that participate in the administrative aspect of it. Can't say enough about Scott Tidwell. Our old buddy Marty Robertson was involved in the last couple of years. There's been Justin Bond, I know, has invested in this class. There's a lot of people that have pooled resources to keep this thing on the tracks. When you look back, you've been a part of this for a few years now. You've kind of seen it turn that corner. What's it been like? Do you feel like a little bit of a proud parent, Stan? Because it has been a pretty amazing turnaround. It wasn't that long ago that a lot of us were genuinely concerned that quarter mile pro modified racing had gone the way of the dodo.
Well, I think you find we got everybody's business mind like minds. Most of us have business or family run business, and everybody's just selling into it. NHRA has been great. NHRA is allowing us to manage ourselves as finish line consultants to a certain extent. That relationship with them has grown tremendously. I promise you. I wasn't here before, but ever since I've been here, it's only been growth involved with them. Deb O'Rourke's doing a fantastic job of managing finish line consultants for us. We just got racers that are realize the potential. This is a steep hill. You better grow some thick skin to run NHRA Pro Mod, because how many races have we had that the point leader hadn't even qualified? You know what? And it's just be prepared that guys are coming with their A game 100%, and you unload and you go to the track. It's great that we have 8th mile racing where we can test and be ready and build up to certain levels. But when you come in NHRA Pro Mod racing, you coming off the trailer, and you better get that first pass down the track and give you something to build off of, or you're going to struggle the rest of the weekend. So again, we got guys, because it's such a steep curve. I think that's what's attracting everybody. That is so challenging. Again, just cause when Jason Scruggs don't qualify for a couple of events, your eyebrows raise up. You know what? And the Mississippi Miss was a bad dude. You let him make that first lap down the track, he's going to get you. So again, that's just where the excitement is built up into it. The TV exposure we're now getting on Sunday has really propelled us and going to continue to propel us as a class. Our hospitality, we meet for a meal every Friday night or Saturday night, and that's all the competitors together. We all want to be headhunters and cut each other's heads off at the track, but behind the scenes, we know we're building the whole sport and building ourselves together.
Stan, that is something that I recognized early in the year. I can't remember where I was at, Gainesville, one of the early races, but it was actually in Indianapolis a few weeks ago for the U.S. Nationals that I swung by that the Finish Line Consultants Hospitality, and they got the grass out, and they've got, all the buffets and the tents up and the cool camp lights, and Deb's kind of holding court, and there's all these different tables with pockets of racers, and I'm seeing this smattering of all these different crew shirts. And I remember texting Justin Oaks, congratulations, because in my eyes, that's when those moments when you have people rubbing elbows, standing shoulder to shoulder with people that they're going to have to compete against in the coming days, and maybe people that they don't necessarily love or have some sort of checkered past with, because this is a small community. A lot of different people have worked for everybody, and a lot of crew guys have made their rounds, and a lot of tuners have made their rounds, which is just par for the course. But when I walked up on that Friday night, the sun was setting, and I go, this is when you're cooking with gas, because now you've got some guys that are invested. You've got guys that are putting their silliness aside or whatever, different things, different backgrounds, different walks of life, all those things that kind of separate us to some degree, and recognize we got a lot more in common than we do different, and that we all want the same thing. Like, we all want to win. That should go without saying. You shouldn't be here if you don't want to win, right? You probably don't fit. But we got to recognize we got to build something, and it's going to take some time. This shit doesn't happen overnight. And I really commend you guys, because I was genuinely concerned about it. If you think back to 2019, and unfortunately COVID did as much damage as anything to the momentum the class had. But when at the time, it was the Real Pro Mod Association that was kind of spearheading the existence of Quarter Mile Pro Mod via Danny Rowe, specifically out of Laguna Hills, California, and Steve Matusik out of the greater Kansas City, Missouri area. And they had kind of banded together to organize the troops, so to speak. And they basically turned the keys to the castle over to NHRA in 2019 with some real uncertainty about what the future would hold, and then the next thing you know, the world is burning, right? We're wearing masks. We're standing a couple of yards apart from one another. The world is upside down and on fire. And it's been amazing what you guys have been able to do, Stan. And I give you a lot of credit for it. What's it mean, for you as a competitor? Do you have that conversation frequently? Because I got to be honest with you, that's something that I personally don't like about the Drag Illustrated Winter Series. Is I'm not a big testing guy. I love testing because I know how much value it provides to my teams. And while we're early in our journey here, this is the 5th year of World Series of Pro Mod, and this will be the first ever Winter Series. I recognize we've got a long way to go to where I want to get. And I know that so many of my racers, especially early in the season, we've got to tick as many boxes for them as humanly possible when they roll through that gate. And one of which is get ready for the rest of the season, iron out the new car, figure out the new combination, whatever. So I feel pretty strongly that we have to provide those testing days for our teams. But I think you make a great point, Stan. There is nothing like rolling through the gate of one of these races and knowing if you don't make a good hit in Q1, you may ought to get ready to go home. Do you think that's, I mean, is that, you mentioned that being part of the allure of NHRA Pro Mod, is that there may not be a greater challenge in fast door slammer racing?
I don't know there is a greater challenge, honestly. Again, we love 8th mile racing, and you love to, testing is good. Testing is good because we got to generate revenue. The promoter, the track's got to make money, and testing generates that as well. And it brings the guys together. You're able to fellowship another day or so and get some testing in, and probably makes the racing safer because you get some testing in and get cars worked out. That's just where NHRA is. I'm not sitting here and say, it's the hardest thing there is, but it's very difficult. We found that out. It is tough to unload, and we can all go. We all might go testing the week of at Rockingham or Darlington or somewhere else on the way to the track, but you're not testing at that track. You don't know those conditions. And what makes it so much difficult in NHRA Pro Mod, and let me tell you this: when you go to a PDRA or Midwest, those tracks are great. You're getting the same prep every time. Pretty much. You're getting the same prep before your class runs. In NHRA, we go up there, and if fuel hadn't run, the track's totally different. If we run before fuel, sometimes we run 2 qualifying rounds before fuel's even ran. So the track is nothing. It's a certain track. So then you go up there the next round, and you're running right behind fuel, and they just laid down Goodyears down through there, and it's totally different. And the tuner, so we've got to have 2 different combinations, 2 different setups. It is a very steep curve, and those are the small challenges. They're not small; they're huge. Where you need to make that lap coming off the trailer to get down the track and give you a baseline. But the track conditions vary tremendously on NHRA. We go up there and like first round this weekend, the tractors go out there and they prep the track right before we ran. And then the next 2 rounds of eliminations, we run right behind the bikes. The tractors don't go on the track; they don't prep the track. So it changes everything. You know what? So again, that's where the tuners are working harder. The drivers just got to hang on, man. You know what? You just got to.
But you make such a valid point there. There was many times in the past that I would see a prominent, drag racer go to a PDRA race or go to a Midwest race or go somewhere to test like the week or so before their event, the NHRA national event, and you'd almost feel for them because they're going to go run their career best probably at Martin or one of these incredible racetracks where it's the PDRA's got it on kill. And then when they unload that thing in Vegas or St. Louis, it's going to smoke the tires the moment they let off the button. It ain't going to go 2 feet. Yeah. And it is so tough because that is one of the things that I think present a real challenge in NHRA drag racing, really across the board. Bald spots, variety of different cars out there, tracks green, some of these tracks that don't get a lot of action. There's so many variables, but you're right, Stan. That's kind of what makes it fun and keeps us pacing.
And in St. Louis, you got to know, the more you go back to them and the tuners that have experience, like St. Louis, whatever their track, however it was made, however it does, it's got crowns on both sides. And you got all these track guys out there looking at it, whatever. Well, it takes you to both walls. When you leave, if you line your car up straight going down the track, you're probably going to drive into the wall. You know what? Because you're Lee White's angling me, toward when I'm in the right hand lane, he's angling me to the center and vice versa. So it's a game, and then you go up there and it's bald where you want to go. So you got to move the car over. And then all of a sudden when you got a big old huge massive blower sitting on the right hand side, the driver can't see the tree. So
I really don't, man. That's the thing that I don't think we give enough credit to race car drivers is just processing all these different scenarios and all in contemplating what might happen. That is we know our brains are computers, but man, you're asking a lot of that old computer between your ears, when you're strapped into a 4,000 horsepower race car, you know what I mean? With limited visibility, belted in place, can't hear, 100 degrees out. I mean, it's a really incredible thing that so many, we have, I was going to share this actually later in the show, but I'll do it now. Man, this is a cool thing, Stan, that I think you'll appreciate as well. We've had 117 race teams reach out to us about participating in the Drag Illustrated Winter Series this year. Awesome. And I'm so proud of that, more so than any. From the main reason is because I recognize the industry impact of those 117 race cars and those 117 drivers. Those are 117 guys buying tires, buying EFI systems, buying converters, buying, wheels, buying complete rolling chassis, building, going through bearings, going through pistons. I mean, the contribution this community of people make to our sport, like the aftermarket, automotive aftermarket, is not to be taken lightly. But it really is a crazy thing that there's that many people that'll fight this battle, because it is, I mean, you speak of your program, Stan, well known as a world-class operation. You got the best in the world working on the car. You got some great people, got great equipment. You've had a lot of success in other motorsports endeavors. To see someone as accomplished as yourself be here talking about the few times you didn't qualify and continue to fight. I mean, that's a humbling thing. I mean, one would think after all that you'd achieved, that's not going to happen. Like, those things are behind us.
I promise you, money does not buy you one of them. It does not. It takes you to have the best equipment. You can have everything you can do. And we've gone to the track, and I think I didn't qualify 4 races this year. But yet I just won the last. We didn't qualify at Charlotte. We went through our silver car did, but my car didn't. We went through our parts shell. We had a rough weekend of parts, and then you overcome that and you bounce back. That's just why this competition is so steep. It's so strong. It's so deep.
How do you keep your head in the game when things are like that? I mean, I'm sure there are some of these guys that, start to kick rocks and it gets pretty discouraging. And is it just a level of commitment that you've always had, Stan? Is that something that comes natural to you? Is like, hey, we've committed to doing this. We're going to do it.
You just keep your head down and keep going. I think all the guys in Pro Mod racers in general, I can talk about the ones in NHRA Pro Mod. This is a huge, when we really go to the racetrack, it's really a game against our car and the track. We really go to the track like there's nobody else even there. It's a challenge of you to overcome that track and the conditions with our own car and our own team. And it's doing stuff on a repetitive thing, doing over and over, going to the starting line, doing all the stuff. The teams do it, everything the same every time if possible. That way, if something small comes up, they overcome it quickly. But you just want everybody doing the same thing. But it's the same way. You keep your head down. You got good equipment. It's just about finding that right little thing. And a lot of times it may be something small that you're missing, but sometimes we want to look and see that it's something big, but it's not. But it's just a challenge of us. And I think that's what drives all of us Pro Mod racers, is the challenge of not letting this beat us. That you might have beat me last weekend, but I'm coming back next weekend. I'm going to get my turn sooner or later.
I absolutely love it. Well, hey, give us your thoughts kind of headed into the end of the year. We're down to one race. It's hard to believe there's a singular NHRA Pro Mod drag racing event left on the schedule. The stars and cars of the NHRA Pro Mod drag racing series head to Las Vegas, the strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. First off, excited to be back in Vegas. The series departed from Vegas in recent years and finished the season at Christie Meyer-Johnson's Texas Motorplex, which I was actually fairly excited about. But I will be honest with you, it doesn't seem right for those Pro Mod cars not to grace the strip in Las Vegas. I think it's a great place for the season to end. So I'm excited to see it back. You?
Absolutely. We've got a great year. Again, our schedule, we went to the West Side twice. I feel like that, we've got racers throughout the country. You got Justin Bond on the West Side. You got Mike Thielen on the West Side, Nick Janix in Vegas. I felt like it's only right that we go there at least twice. Those guys are coming to the East Coast, are coming our side 8 times. Man, let's go on their side twice. And great markets in Phoenix that we had earlier in the year. Got great TV coverage, and then going back to Vegas. And what's so exciting again about our second year of our road to the championship? I think if you go and do the math, and it's 1.5 points going into Vegas, I think we've got 8 cars that can win the championship. 8 cars that can go into Vegas with 1.5 points. If it's your day, that you can win a championship. So it can't get any more exciting than that.
You just gave me goosebumps. I get them easy, but I get them easy, but you're 100% right. And I don't know the last time, if ever in drag racing history, has there been that many cars in drivers in competition headed into the last race. I mean, I remember some of the iconic battles, Mike Castellano winning it, out there, going a couple of rounds further than Troy Coughlin, or Troy Coughlin sewed up a few of them out there as well. I believe Mike Janis won one out there as well. But anyways, to have 8 cars going in there with a shot at it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna it's gonna be one hell of a drag race. I can't wait to see it unfold.
Speaking of Mike Janis, we got Mike Janis Senior back.
I know how great is that?
So that just adds more fuel to our enthusiasm and just makes the class even stronger. For sure.
No, there's no doubt about it. I'm so excited and so proud of what you guys have accomplished, and I can't wait for you to, put the quarter mile setup in the box and turn your attention to Bradenton, Florida, and get those hot rods ready to come down and run for big money as part of the Drag Illustrated Winter Series. I want to say thanks, man. You've been a big supporter of us for a long time, Stan. I appreciate it genuinely. We can't do this stuff without guys such as yourself and many, many others. Are you excited to come down and camp out in Bradenton for a couple, 3 months?
You know what, brother? Again, that's what I was talking about earlier. To drive NHRA Pro Mod, you better have really a lot of thick skin. You better have 10 layers, but you better add 3 more to go down to Florida and race at Wes Buck's Winter Series this year, because again, that's a thick bunch down there. I mean, there might be 32 cars within
500-600s.
Exactly.
Or I mean, it's. I mean, that's the coolest thing that I think, having 2 years in a row where we had the quickest and tightest field in the history of pro modified drag racing. And these are 32 car fields where you could run. I mean, the 20-30 cars that don't qualify are amongst the best on the planet Earth.
Yep.
And it's a really cool thing. And I think it's kind of taken on a life of its own. I'm genuinely proud of it. I mean, this was always my dream 20 years ago. When we started Drag Illustrated, the goal was always to be putting on our own events and being able to put on our own major events. I didn't want to put on little, regional things. I wanted, events that would have, international flair and draw people from all points of the globe. And to think that we're achieving that is pretty damn exciting, man. But I can't wait to have you guys down there. We have so much fun at that race. We got some big surprises coming, some fun things, some fresh faces, some wiry veterans, some of our guys that have been around for a while. But that's always the kind of challenge to make sure that we continue to build a tradition with the people that have supported this vision since day one, but also sprinkle in fresh faces and try to get some new people involved with what we're doing. It's an exciting time, man.
Hey,
I'm excited to have you down there.
You're keeping the excitement in Pro Mod for us. I mean, our season ends in October, but then we head right into your series. And you keep Pro Mod hot. You keep the season going. You keep everybody excited. Then we go right into Gainesville. And you're doing some fantastic things in there with your hospitality. This big old hospitality tower you got behind the starting line. You got one down there at the finish line. I mean, you're creating ideas for us to use in NHRA Pro Mod. So I appreciate all the effort you're doing.
We're trying, man. That's where I really feel the opportunity exists in drag racing. I say this a lot, but I don't think our on-track product needs improvement. I honestly think I watch a lot of motorsports. I'm actually headed to Indianapolis this weekend with my dear friend Tommy Cunningham from Stroud Safety, and we're going to go check out an SRO event, a road racing event in Indianapolis together, because we both find it important to put our eyes on other motorsports to see what they're doing, how we can learn from them, what ideas we can borrow or steal from them. But that's something that I feel strongly about, is our on-track product. It's unrivaled in motorsports. I mean, NASCAR wishes they had a drag race breakout every weekend. They wish for it. Formula One crosses their fingers and hopes and prays that a drag race breaks out. But we get to do it all the time. I think where we miss it is the off track, the production quality, what do you say? Just the C and B scene atmosphere that I think is really important. You got to make these things something that people want to be at, want to be guilty by association, can't imagine missing out. And the racing is going to drive some of that, but you better throw a party. You better make sure people are having fun. You better play some good music, serve some cold drinks. That's a big part of this game. I mean, if you look at like the Miami Grand Prix for Formula One, if you look at, what's the other big Grand Prix Las Vegas. Those are rooted in hospitality. Yes. Those are experiences. Yep. And that's the direction we've got to take the sport of drag racing. That's what I'm excited about.
We're racing, but we're in the entertainment business. As long as we realize as racers, we want to go out there, we want to compete, we want to challenge each other, but let's realize we are in entertainment business and we have to entertain people. These hospitalities, just like NHRA Pro Mod's hospitality, you got a guy that wants to be a potential sponsor or something. He loves drag racing, but his wife doesn't. We want him to come. We want her to feel comfortable in the hospitality. She can sit there and be on Wi-Fi. She can watch the race on the big screen. She can have something nice to drink. Husband can come out there and go out there and watch rounds. You know what?
Yeah.
And they come back and get her, and they got a great time together. So that's where we're all trying to put all this package together and grow both sides of it.
You're 100% right, Stan. From your mouth to God's ears, brother. Congratulations again. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's stay in touch, and I look forward to seeing you in Bradenton this summer or this winter.
Good. That's right. Appreciate it, Wes.
Thank you, my friend. Talk soon. Hey, guys, I want to take a quick second and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top-quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to stroudsafety.com and make sure you tell them we sent you. Guys, we got a big one. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is one of the most special times of the year when it comes to the drag racing calendar. I look forward to it. My entire family looks forward to it. You know what? It's a great little segue that Stan provided us there, because that's one of the allures, some of the magic of the Stampede of Speed at the Texas Motorplex is that it's more than drag racing. You're going to have great music, big name bands. You're going to have all sorts of activities, playgrounds for kids. You're going to have all sorts of vending opportunities. You've got, food and drink opportunities to beat the band. You got parties in town. What's the word? Autograph signing sessions. They take over downtown Waxahachie. Something new every year.
Yeah, they're trying new stuff every year. And this is 4 or 5 years now they've been doing this, maybe longer.
You know what? Let's ask her. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Christie Meyer-Johnson of the legendary Texas Motorplex. What's going on, Christie? How are you?
Hey, Christie.
Good. How are y'all? Good to see you.
It's good to see you, man. Well, hey, how long have you guys been doing the Texas Stampede of Speed? Is this 4?
This is 4. Yeah. We like to say it's not our first rodeo, just the 4th,
So you started it during COVID, like in 2020. That was the first one?
The first one was 21. So 21, 22,
21. Okay.
Yeah. But, we kind of started getting the idea around COVID. No, you're good. But COVID was kind of what spurred us to think, man, we've got to do something. We've got to be able to help, just grow the sport and to just bring more people out. Obviously COVID, we were actually the first live public event in Texas after COVID. We actually got a special order by the governor to open up our gates in May. So we were the first live event in Texas. And so, we realized we have the opportunity to do stuff outside where it's safe. And so that kind of spurred a lot of this for us of how can we grow and provide more opportunity for fans. And,
I feel like it was a game changer, really. Yeah, if you think back to it, I feel like we've seen some other tracks, play off of this, and it really kind of just implanted that idea in a lot of promoters and a lot of tracks that you can do something like this. And it can be stuff that really, I don't want to say off the wall, but stuff that's outside the box from what you would typically have at a drag race, concerts, the lantern release deal that you guys had.
A festival or an event happening more than just a race, it's got something for everybody.
Absolutely.
What's the biggest challenge? Because that's something that I think is, I'm curious, just kind of like your knee-jerk reaction to that, because I know there's so many things that go into this, but you're booking bands, dealing with that kind of whole world that is admittedly much different than the typical world we operate in. But you're doing you're working with all these different groups of people, trying to connect the dots on all this stuff. What is the biggest challenge of an event like this that spans a week of your schedule?
That's a really hard question, honestly. I would say just the organization, just making sure that we're buttoned up on our end and we have communicated well to all of the different people involved, because obviously we're the promoter and we're putting on the event, but we're working with the NHRA. We're working with our Nightlights partners that help with the lantern release. We're working with all the bands. And so for us, just making sure our team knows what's going on, making sure everybody, is on the same page. Honestly, I would say that is the hardest part. 10 days is a long time, and we're doing everything, like you said, from a cattle drive to a music festival to drag racing. We actually have, I think it's 7 days of NHRA drag racing on track this year. So, that would just organization and making sure we just, from every single almost an hour of the day, we know exactly what's supposed to be happening.
It's an incredible production to watch. I've been lucky enough to be on the grounds for the last 3 years and be involved in a bunch of meetings. And you had me as an announcer one year. I can't remember the other stuff we've done. We put on some races one year. And but it's been fun to be a part of those production meetings and see the level, the attention to detail and the pride that you guys take in what you do at the Motorplex, Christie. And I've always been inspired by it and very proud that it exists in our community, because not to throw stones, but I do think that this is a group of people that have been very comfortable doing it the way we've always done it for a long, long time. And I'm lucky enough to travel to a lot of events and go to a lot of different racetracks. And you do see things that don't look a lot different than they maybe did in 1989. Right. And then now you look at events like this. I think one of the biggest impacts that I had at the 2023 running of the Texas Stampede of Speed was just the effort and the care and the attention to detail that you made with your ticketing. Just handing, these little details that match so much. For those that don't know or haven't seen them, I wish I had one in front of me. We recently moved. Right
here. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah. Bust this thing out. Because people need to see this. So these are silly things that it seems like no big deal, but this is actually how you're presented your ticket to the Stars Over Texas Motor Music and Magic Festival. Look at this thing. It's a multi-piece box.
They're like Vanna White,
Yeah.
Like,
I know JT and Mike are loving this. They're off camera right now. But you bust this thing open. You've got your lanyard, wristbands in there, a schedule, your ticket, all these decals. And it's things like that, in my opinion, Christie, that just put these deals over the top. It seems like nothing. Like, I talk to promoters. We do a lot of this stuff. Shout out to my team, Mike Carpenter and Josh Dixon. We do a lot of this stuff for various racers. And maybe I should plug that, or various promoters. If you need lanyards, credentials, any of that type of stuff, we do it. And we do it for a lot of different events in the space. But I'll have a lot of promoters look at me like, I ain't spending that much money on freaking lanyards. I ain't spending that much money on parking stickers. I'm not spending that much money. But it's very difficult to explain to people the difference that those little details make. Takes it to a different level that hasn't existed in this space. Apparently you feel the same.
Yeah, for sure. It's the little details. It's the whole purpose of this, obviously, is to grow the sport of drag racing and to bring a new fan in. Obviously, there's only so many drag racing fans right now. So our goal with this is to bring people into these basically auxiliary events and introduce them. So like we've talked about this, obviously, for the last 4 years at our music festival. In between sets, you're going to see cars run. You're going to see jet cars. You're going to see fuel cars. You're going to see pro mods. Thank you, Wes, for that. Wes helped us.
I wasn't near as much help as I wanted to be. We were right in the midst of back-to-back family tragedies. And I told Christie, I was like, oh my God, I wanted to do so much more and be so much more involved in this, but it worked out, I think. So
it's great. We're great. And so people are going to see drag racing in the midst of this show. So it's a way to capture a fan and hopefully get them back the next weekend for the national event. So just little details. We're trying to give people a drag racing experience. We're trying to give them a Texas experience. We want people from all over the world to come in and be able to get that Texas hospitality, everything from barbecue to beer to bull riding to a cattle drive. Anything and everything we touch has a Texas flair or a Southern flair. And so, we want people. I think I was looking at some of our ticket sales and some of our geofencing things we do to just kind of see what's going on with where people come from and where they go and what they do. And it is fascinating because I think last year we had over 16 countries represented at the Fall Nationals. Wow. And Stampede of Speed Week. We know where people go. They go to Walmart and Buc-ee's, and they come from a lot of them go to gamble up at WinStar and Choctaw. And it's just fascinating to be able to get this information to learn about our fan. And, it's been really neat. But that's what we want to do. We want to give people a Texas experience. And
do you think that's like the path? Well, two things. You guys nail the Texas experience. And for those, most of my team has been to the Stampede of Speed at various points in the past. But you guys really do nail it with everybody's decked out. You're rocking your cowboy hat and Wranglers. You got the patterned shirt with the snaps, tucked in. The whole crew's decked out. All the staff is rocking their Western wear, which really adds something. It reminds me. It kind of reminds me of Norwalk when you've got Bill Bader Jr. out there wearing a tuxedo on the starting line. There's something about it that makes it stand out. And I see that on full display. Like, I'm proud of the Texas Stampede of Speed for that reason, because now, having lived in Texas for almost 5 years, it's like you really are proud of the way this community of people behaves and the way they treat one another and the way, you know, they dress and the way they embrace this culture. And you've got the bull out there, and it's just nonstop Texas, and I think it's fantastic. But the other part of it that I think is interesting and I'm curious about, do you think that's the pathway forward for the sport? I mean, I know those are some of the candid conversations that I've had with your father. For those that don't know, Christie is the daughter of the beloved and famed drag racer, promoter, track owner, Billy Meyer. Billy and I have talked, like, how do we get more people out here? How do we sell more tickets? We got to get more asses in these seats. And do you think that the path forward is that kind of cross promotion type of thing? Get some people out to see Lady A on Saturday night at, you know, Stars Over Texas Music Festival, and hope that maybe they'll come back tomorrow or come back the next weekend?
I think so. I mean, I think the whole goal is drag racing speaks for itself. Unfortunately, it doesn't translate on TV. And so people have to get the experience. I mean, we all know this. You guys do this every day. But it's a sensory thing. You have to be able to see it, hear it, feel it. I mean, maybe cry a little from the fumes, you know. But I think getting people out here just to experience it, they want to come back. And so for us, we realized by providing these opportunities, I mean, it seems to be helping. I mean, this is our 4th year. Obviously, it's like a new business. Even though we're actually celebrating our 39th year this year, it's like we're doing this all over again with this new event, trying something different. So it's like we knew we were going to take a few years and just kind of throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, you know? And so here we are. This year, it's like copy, paste, repeat. We know what worked, what hasn't worked. And so for us, it's still a little bit of an experiment, but I think it's working. I mean, we're getting more notoriety. More people in the state know what we're doing, more people in the country and other countries. I mean, I just got an email this week from a gentleman in Europe that's coming, and he was like trying to get information. Like, where do I stay? What do I do? I'm coming from, you know, a whole nother world, basically. Yeah. But it's so exciting to hear people that are excited to come and they want to see what's going on in Texas. And everything's bigger in Texas, so why not make drag racing bigger? So, I mean, we've never been afraid to try crazy things. I mean, my dad, for those of you that know him, his nickname growing up was Wild Bill for a reason. And I mean, we joke with Elin Warner all the time. Elin does all of our PR. I mean, the stuff they tried to do in the 90s is just absolute chaos. The stories, I've got to get my dad just nailed down one day to either write a book or to do some podcasts and just tell these stories. A few weeks ago, he started telling me.
You can tell them to us. I'll move in.
I'll
move in for a couple days and we'll get her knocked out.
He started telling a story, and I was like, I need to just, every single time he talks, like start recording him on my phone, because I'd never heard this one story. But so we're so used to trying wild things. So we're never opposed to crazy ideas. And so we basically will try anything to see what works. And, you know, we've done everything from have a guy jump off the roof on fire to, you know, a bull riding, you know, so we're totally open, you know. I'm
gonna hit Vic up at Bradenton Motorsports Park. And Mike, what do you think? Should we have somebody jump off the tower? I think that actually would maybe really add some sizzle to what we got going on. JT might do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, JT's volunteering in the green room right now.
JT, real quick. If we get a trampoline, will you jump off the tower in Bradenton onto a trampoline?
Well, I could probably do that. Yeah.
There was a whole story behind it. So the jet car took off. A guy was standing behind him. The guy caught on fire, and then he ran under the tower. And then a guy jumps off the tower on fire. So it seemed like that guy you know. So then I was a kid sitting in the suites,
traumatized.
In front of me.
I just watched somebody burn up and jump off.
So a guy just comes down in front of me. I'll never forget the visual of the guy on fire falling in front of me. But, you know, I mean, stuff like
you can't do that now. That's totally not PC anymore or whatever.
No,
multiple agencies will be after you.
Yeah. Oh, no. I mean, and these ideas, NHRA has been amazing, and they are letting us try new things, obviously. But there are a few times, you know, I see their eyes kind of get like, oh.
Oh, boy.
We see that a lot. Every time we walk through the gates of an NHRA national event, that's the look we get.
100% the look we get. It's been that way for a hot minute, though, and we love it. That's all good. Christie, let's run through the lineup for us, because my wife and I were actually talking this morning, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you got to call Christie because we need to go out there every night."
She and I were messaging back and forth the other day, and I was like, "I need to send her my phone number so she's not messaging me on Facebook, but give her my number."
I did.
Good.
I was like,
you're in trouble now. Christie?
Well, I'm going to be gone for at least a couple of days, but I'll be back like midway through the weekend, and then we'll make our way out there. And we look forward to seeing you because the level of production is just something I appreciate. That's probably my favorite thing about going to
the
events.
coolest thing, in my opinion, is the dinner, the champions dinner.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
The production that you guys do with that to honor the champions. They get to pick the menu, and then the whole, the entertainment that you have on stage, and then like. After the dinner, you got all that stuff out there, like cigar rolling, bourbon tasting, the bowls out there. I mean, it's really endless. And I think it's made the Fall Nationals a landmark event. I think it already was, but it really now, I think even more so, stands apart as one of those flagship events on the NHRA schedule.
I don't know if there's another one that actually is even in the realm. To be honest, I mean, and I don't mean to say that, like, I don't say that like disparagingly. I'm not trying to talk shit, but I'm just saying the way that you guys have made it this over a week long happening it's pretty,
like reinvented
pretty rare
itself.
air.
It was like reinvented itself. I mean, I think that like I said, it's put it up there or kept it up there with, Gainesville. There's certain races on the NHRA schedule that stand out for a reason, and I think that it's totally reinvented it and reinvigorated. I think the Motorplex was so well known when it was first built for being revolutionary, all concrete surface. It was the fastest track in the country, and then now this has kind of like propelled it into this new generation, this new level of entertainment and appealing to a different audience. So I think it's awesome, and it's like a crown jewel down there in Ennis. And I think it also ties in with everything that's going on down there. Like I wasn't aware till Wes moved to Texas, all the stuff that goes on in the fall down there with the state fair, the Red River rivalry, all that stuff that's going on, like right there in Dallas. So it really, there's just so much going on in that area that time of year. It seems to tie in with that as well.
Absolutely. And we're just so fortunate that we get to do this. This is not what people get to do every day. And to have the opportunity to be able to have the team that I have that supports our family, that just pretty much does anything and everything and has such an incredible attitude. It's a blessing. This is a gift to have. We just went through a traumatic experience with my father-in-law, and he's been in the hospital. And I just got here yesterday, and I'm usually here a week in advance, and Barry's usually with me, but he's home with the kids and with my father-in-law, and my team has not missed a beat. I literally just walked back in the office from a track walk, and I can't say enough about the people that come alongside to support, to pray, to love on me and my family, and then to get the job done. So, I mean, we're just super fortunate, and I appreciate you guys being so kind about, what we're trying to accomplish. But y'all are like thick with us. Y'all know you're doing the same thing we are. Y'all are fighting for the sport, and you are trying to create something new and exciting. And, it's really fun to be able to do it with people like y'all that have the same passion and, fire.
Well, I can't wait. Well, first off, I want to say that we're thinking about your family, and please tell Barry the same. I love Barry. I've only hung out with Barry like 6 times in my life, but we always like have a ball together. So I'm looking forward to doing it again, but we're thinking about you guys. Right. And if there's anything we can do, please let us know. But we feel the exact same way about you guys. I got to tell you that for me, it's kind of it's surreal to even know you or your father, and to have the relationship that we do. And I mean, hell, I've got my name on a parking spot out there. It's something that when I was a little kid, I never would have in my wildest
JT taped his name
dreams thought that something like that could be possible for me. I wrote about it on Facebook earlier this week. Like, I'm a 2-time college dropout, and I got a parking spot at the Motorplex, and it's pretty exciting, and I'm pretty proud of it. And you're right. It's something that I'm glad you said it, and maybe it's exactly what I needed to hear today. Just, this stuff's hard. It will kick your ass, and it's a nonstop. The racing business, and of so many businesses, but it's just every day. There's another fire to put out. There's another dramatic happening to deal with. It's just the nature of the beast, right? And it will beat you down, but you're right. This is something we get to do. And I know that I'm very lucky to be able to do what we do. And I really hope that we're able to do more and more and more together. Like, I tell you what, man, a summer series or a spring series, or I don't know, fall. We camp out for 3 months in Texas. I mean, I'm already here. That's 55 minutes from the crib.
We're just a hop, skip, and a jump from you. So, and that's the thing. We love trying new things. We're trying this past year we picked up the Western Conference Finals for the juniors, and that was an incredible event. It was another 10-day event. We had the kids here. It was like summer camp for kids.
Wow.
But we had a ball, and we were able to create a culture with them. We had a code of conduct. It was like the cowboy way, just to create and instill values in these kids, and not only from racing, but how they treat their opponents and how they treat their families. And I mean, it's so cool that we get to be in every single aspect of this sport, from the juniors all the way to the pros. And, we're just trying. We're just trying anything and everything we can to just make an impact in people's lives and in the sport.
Christie, trying, I think a lot of times is all that these folks want. And I think that it means so much to this group of people. I mean, Mike and I spent our entire lives, growing up at the racetrack every weekend, going to the next place. And it was, I think he'll agree with this, or I hope you'll echo this sentiment, Mike, is just that you could tell the tracks that they were trying. You could tell the places, the promoters, when they were trying. Those are the guys that you gave the benefit of the doubt when things were kind of getting, we're 5 hours behind schedule, but God knows this guy's trying, or this gal's trying. And that can make a big difference. And I think that one of the things that people, a certain group of people, are those pro racers that know there are some people in Dallas, Texas that are freaking trying. And I would like for you to talk about that. I don't know how much you're willing to share, but one of the things that I've heard for the last 3 months, no exaggeration, is all these racers that are excited to go down there and race for that qualifying money, get paid good money to be there. How much of a point of pride is that for you to do something so significant? I mean, for those that don't know, and you can probably explain it if you'd like, but you guys put extra incentives in place to ensure that your fans get the stars of drag racing, get the top teams, get the best cars, the best competition, and you use dollars to motivate these guys and gals to put on a show for you. I mean, how does that fit into the whole equation, and what kind of reaction do you get from your professional racers? I mean, I saw you in Indy specifically there to go just communicate with your racers, which I think is another thing that's a bit of a lost art.
Yeah, so we are very fortunate to be able to provide a couple opportunities for the racers, some travel money to be able to get here, and then also the low ET bonus on Friday night. If they win that, they get the bonus, and then they get actually a pair of Corral boots that Corral donates to them, so they get to pick their own boots. And so that incentive it's super exciting for the racers because they have something else to work towards, and something else, especially on a Friday night show, to really work towards to give the crowd a really good experience. We call that the battle for the saddle. So the guys, when they run, if they have the low ET, they sit on the saddle till the next guy knocks them off, and then they have the check, and they have the briefcase of cash, and they come down the return road, and it's really cool to just see this experience. One thing we do though is to be able to be eligible for some of these things. We ask the racers to help us because what we understand is when people are going to see the Cowboys, they're going to see the guys. They're not necessarily going to the stadium. Maybe sometimes you at least got to see the stadium one time just because it's, like one of the seventh wonders of the sports world. But for us, people are coming to see those guys. They're not necessarily looking at our social media. They're looking at theirs. So we ask that the drivers post on social media. We ask that the drivers come to our fan fest. We ask that they, be as involved as possible because we need their help to get people here. And it's working really well. I mean, all of the drivers are very supportive. We've already seen some incredible social media from them. This year we made it super easy. We literally sent them a website, and it had all the graphics that they could modify for themselves. It had some graphics that they could use with our hashtags and some great wording. And here's our website, stampedeofspeed.com for tickets. And, we just pretty much made it foolproof, and then they can interact and be a part of it with us. And it's gone really well. I mean, going out to Indy is always an honor to be able to get to go and speak to the racers and tell them what we're doing. We invite them to come out to the concert. We invite them to be a part of every part of the whole week if they want to, from the Champions Dinner to the Fan Fest. And, they see the effort for sure, and they're appreciative, and then they help us. And that's why, right now ticket sales are looking really well because we're getting support from them and from, just the NHRA and
Well, I think I mean, to be honest, it's something that you should be very proud of, because that is not a dynamic that has historically existed, at least not for a long time. And I don't know, we don't have enough time in the day or week to really dissect how that whole situation has become what it is. But there is something of an us versus them thing that has developed in drag racing, where it's the sanctions and the series and the tracks kind of working on their own while the racers are working on their own things. And it's these moments when we can get everybody working together. Stan Shelton and I were talking about it earlier in the show, and I think that you can see the success of the NHRA Pro Mod series is rooted in sanctioned series tracks working hand in hand with race teams, crews, and sponsors. And that's what I see from you, Christie, and the team at the Texas Motorplex. And I see it across the board. Cheeseburger, DeMarcus, all these guys that have first name basis relationships with these drivers and team owners and various people that are involved with the operation. And I think creating that, it's being a galvanizing force. That's what we've kind of fancy ourselves here at Drag Illustrated, is we've always wanted to serve as a galvanizing sport in drag racing, because I know that this sport can go somewhere like far, far, far greater than where we are. Not downplaying or being, unappreciative of where we've arrived, because it's certainly very special, but there's a lot of fertile soil here. But it will take what you're talking about, is working together. And it seems like, will you share, how do the racers recognize like this? Do you hear that from some of these drivers? Like, hey, thanks for sending us all these assets and all these creative materials, so I don't have to have my people doing it, or I don't have to figure out how to become a graphic designer to try to help you. I think those things really matter to these folks.
Yeah, absolutely. They're very open to it. I mean, I've gotten such great compliments, even from Tony Stewart stopping to thank me, people that you wouldn't expect necessarily to like take the time, in the sense, because they're busy and you got a lot going on, but they take the time to thank us and to, just acknowledge what we're trying to do. And it means a lot. I mean, it really does, because I know that they're fighting for the sport, and they know we're right there with them doing the same. I mean, just today, Tony Schumacher texted just to check on my family, because he knows we're going through this situation. These guys are our friends. These people, it's not only generations of friendships with families like the Schumachers and the Forces, but it's, then some of the new drivers, just creating these relationships with them have been huge. And they know we're right there fighting the same fight that they are, and trying to work together with the NHRA and with Pro and with, the track operators. And all I can do is what we can do here. But when we all work together, it's incredible what we can accomplish. And, we've had a lot of conversations over the past year with other tracks and with drivers, and it just has opened the floodgates for us to be able to communicate and figure some things out. I mean, we're really lucky to have the relationships and the open communication lines that have really started opening in the past few years.
I'm genuinely fired up. I can't wait to get out there. So who do we got Friday? So the music festival starts Friday night, right? And then first night it's the one where Tracy Lawrence, right?
Actually, Friday night, we start with the cattle drive Friday. Okay. And we have Wade Bowen, and he's been at the event every year. He's one of our dear friends. So Wade is headlining. We have Randall.
Killed it last year.
Yes. We have Randall King that night, Roger Krager, one of my favorites. And then we have a local kid that's went to TCU named Clayton Mullen. He's an up and coming guy. Saturday then is the 90s country night. And we have bull riding, beer expo, start the barbecue cook off. And so that's Tracy Lawrence. And then we have Shenandoah, Neil McCoy in Little Texas. And that day is just exploding. This 90s country resurgence is just, it's blowing.
Oh, it's a thing. It's a thing. It's happening.
It's blowing everybody's minds, even theirs, I think. Sunday, then we have Lady A, Eli Young Band. We have a guy named George Burge, and then we have a Drew Parker. And then the bull riding, and both Saturday and Sunday are lantern releases. So that's super exciting, and
both nights.
Yeah, 2 nights of lanterns. And then this year we added a divisional, a Lucas Oil divisional on Monday and Tuesday. So we start NHRA drag racing on Monday. Monday and Tuesday is the divisional. Wednesday starts the Fall Nationals. We're actually starting a day earlier this year so we can have more time for the sportsmen and the Jags All-Stars. And then the Champions Dinner that y'all mentioned earlier. And that's really a special night. And we can't wait to celebrate last year's winners and, party on the lawn and hang out and really just
that's probably one of my favorite events of the year is, sitting out there, smoking a cigar with your dad, and Brett Underwood from our team, and who you've known your entire life, and sit around. And those moments are special. And I think this is a community of people that I always look at PRI, like why our party is a big deal at PRI is because it's such a rare opportunity for this group of people to be together when they don't have their hands dirty or like the next round looming.
Right.
You know, it's just so unusual.
It is. And what fans need to understand is they can come. They can literally sit there and sit next to their favorite driver and sit there and hear these conversations and smoke a cigar with, you know, this year, you know, Leah's not going to smoke, obviously, but they can hang out with Leah and they can see Matt Hagan. And it's an opportunity people will never get to see all 4 champions in one room and take a picture with them. I mean, when do you ever get that opportunity? So, you know, that's Wednesday. Thursday, we have our Fan Fest in downtown Waxahachie. And then Friday on, we have, you know, Friday Night Live with the Fall Nationals. And then, you know, we race for that cowboy hat and that Wally. So
I'm excited. Well, we surely, we can't wait to get out there, Christie. Yeah. Thank you so much for all you and your family and the whole team at Texas Motorplex do for the sport of drag racing. We certainly appreciate it. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the world that feel the same way. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you. Stay in touch. We'll be praying for your family. If you need anything, you let us know. Okay.
Okay, we'll see you soon. Thank you. And remember, StampedeofSpeed.com for tickets.
StampedeofSpeed.com. Got to get that call to action in there or Elon will be mad at us.
I know. He sent me notes.
Fantastic.
I love it.
Log on to StampedeofSpeed.com. Buy them right now. Buy 2, buy 6. Thanks, Christie. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate y'all.
Guys, I want to take a quick second and remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils. Redline has a reputation with racers and hardcore enthusiasts for creating products that perform and protect better than any on the market, and they've been doing it since 1979. Whether it's your race car, your tow rig, your motorcycle, or your lawnmower, when you think about lubricants, you need to think about Redline. For more information, log on to redlineoil.com. Mike, JT, we got 15 minutes or so left, and I just wanted to great conversation today. Like fantastic conversations, shows flowing.
And that was a lot of good stuff with Christie there. And I actually just remembered, I've been doing this deal. It's called Legacy Box. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this. It's basically a service where you send in VHS tapes, or really like I think audio tapes or anything, and they'll convert them to a DVD or to digital download. So I've been taking a bunch of my dad's old racing videos and getting these converted. And one of the ones, you know, they're like all jumbled up and poorly labeled. You don't really know what you're getting.
Yeah.
So there's been some interesting finds on there. But
I'm scared to send anything off.
Yeah, don't send that one in. None of that, luckily, but just some off the wall stuff. But anyway, one of them was actually the first one of the first events at the Motorplex when it first opened in 1987. Was this, like, I forget the exact name of this event or what the details were of it, but it was like an east-west shootout where I want to say Carcraft magazine was involved, but it was like an early Bill Coleman was there. I think Vandergriff was there, Dave Riolo, my dad, Jeff Littleton. I think a lot of these early Pro Mod guys, basically East and West, met in Texas for like an exhibition to see who was the quickest or whatever. This was like when Motorplex was brand new. And my dad's car was brand new, like so new. I don't think that it had no paint. It was primer. I think the primer wasn't even dry on this thing. Knowing him, that's how he would have it.
Was Scott Shafroff involved in this?
I think he was involved. I think
so. Yeah.
But this was a huge deal back in the day. It was 1987. So this was still 3 years before Pro Mod became an official class. And some really cool video from that event. I'll have to cut it up maybe and send a clip to Christie, but you can see the Motorplex when it's like brand spanking new. Everything is just like freshly built. And then my dad's driving, like he literally unloads his car for the first time and it's just in complete gray primer. And I think it had like a 500, you know, like
back then it probably had a
598 or something in it.
555,
550. So, I mean, it was small. And they're going to be running, you know, Pro Mod with this, but that was badass for the day. And I think that like his first pass, I think the quickest pass he had ever been in that all steel 55 to that date was like a 780 something. I mean, that was like screaming for that thing. And the first pass in this other car, like all over the track, slipping the clutch, let out early, the whole deal. And it went like 770 something. So it was like, my dad always remembers
made the worst pass possible, and it's still faster than the old car.
Okay, we're on to something here. And I think that was like one of the first moments where it's like you take a pro stock style chassis with a 55 Chevy body, put the motor in the combo you were running in that previous car, put it in this thing, and this is, charting a new path of where this is going. So really cool, like pre pro mod stuff.
Do you think a couple of things here? I do want to give a huge shout out to Scott Taylor winning his first No Prep Kings event this past weekend as the series rolled into Martin, Michigan. Great to see Scott. He's been a dude that's been a part of this deal for a really, really, really long time. One of the nicest guys that I think you're going to encounter in the No Prep Kings world.
And he's on my fantasy No Prep team.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I'm in fifth. I can go up to second.
I was super proud of him and happy for him, man. I reached out to him Saturday night, and it was just cool to see just how fired up he was. He told me that his phone had damn near melted to the ground, all these people. And it's guys like that you've seen fight the good fight, kind of be, right there on the cusp of a breakthrough moment, but then something bites him. And then to see him finally get it done, especially at this stage in the game, because I don't know if there's been a more competitive moment in No Prep Kings drag racing. And how about, like, I wanted to think that a quick story, Sean Murder Nova Ellington, hasn't consistently been a factor. Like, he's always been a big part of the storyline. I think he may be the most celebrated or one of the most beloved characters that Street Outlaws and No Prep Kings has produced. I know he's one of my favorites. He's a guy that's always treated me well, and he's consistent. That's something I kind of measure a man by. How are they over and over and over? And Murder Nova's always been a consistent presence. He's always had an identifiable car. And like I said, he's always had the gift of gab. He's got a character. He's got swag about him. But this year, he has really established himself as a contender on the racetrack. Not just here as part of the show, but here as someone that's a threat to win every weekend. And I actually got a little video. Apparently, Murder Nova has some sort of like Patreon based or some sort of subscription service where you can like participate in these live chats he has. And he actually said yesterday that he would really like to be involved in the World Series of Pro Mod. He's another one of the guys that I've kind of had my eyes on that have some of that crossover appeal. Because
he was fast, on the show, on the original Street Outlaws show.
And he was fast when he put radials on, if you remember.
He was. And he was a hell of a driver when he was at Lights Out or No Mercy. I forget which one it was. I think it was Lights Out, wasn't it?
I think it was Lights Out.
And then I think that they went to Memphis as well for one of Tyler's races for the Outlaw Streetcar Reunion. But he was fast. And Scott Taylor, when he came on the original Street Outlaw show, was really fast. But, when it started in the No Prep thing, I think these cars quickly got out of control as far as like, I mean, you needed to spend some money. I mean, you basically needed a pro.
I mean, if you don't have to spend about a half hour on Facebook Marketplace, seeing some of these cars that are listed for sale nearing $500,000 that were built specifically for No Prep, big tire drag racing, it's incredible. I mean, if you look at that car that Cole Pez is driving right now for Cody in the gang, I can't think of his last name off the top of my head. I'm drawing blank. Cody Baker.
Car,
And so anyways, it's just to think about how this deal is a far cry from back half big tire, cars like it used to be, or mini tubbed street cars. I mean, these are like purpose built, double frame rail, real deal, purpose-built drag cars, and it's an amazing thing. And it's something that I think everybody's got a little bit of a different opinion on, because there are those that I think feel it's gotten way far away from its roots and maybe too far gone. But then there's some other people that recognize this is just kind of the curse of heads-up drag racing.
Always happens, man. Look at Big Dog, look at Radio versus the World. Everything, unless you really set out to curtail it, this is where it goes.
Super fast, blowing through a couple of different topics that I think are worth mentioning. Cheap Street World Finals at the Stampede of Speed. Mike Stiver's in here saying the Cheap Street community is near and dear to my heart. Mike Hollis, Barrett Green, Michael Poland, Tom Gunner, everybody that's involved in organizing those events. I'm telling you what, man, small tire no prep here, or small tire racing down here in Texas is just on fire. It's unbelievable how many of these events are going on and how good they pay, and how competitive they are, how many cars show up. Really a special time for that particular brand of drag racing right now. It's exciting, man. I'm excited to see it. Another thing I wanted to go back after my script read. how about, Redline Oil, a longtime supporter of ours here on the Wes Buck Show, but also all of Drag Illustrated Magazine, has always had some sort of involvement in our events, but stepped up in a major way here in 2024 to become our first official brand deal. I've always had a burning desire to establish certain companies, certain people in this industry as official partners of Drag Illustrated or the Drag Illustrated Winter Series. And Mark Beatty and the team at Redline stepped up in a huge way to become the official oil of the Drag Illustrated Winter Series. They're going to be involved in all 3 races, support everything we do, help us roll out content and marketing efforts. I'm excited to see the way they've embraced our racers. Many of our World Series of Pro Mod competitors have become tried and true Redline Oil supporters on the heels of this relationship. And it's something I feel really good about, man. I just want to make sure we mentioned it. I do see
awesome.
A couple other comments in here. Sorry. It was a text I just got from Aaron Van Heel. Must be watching along online. He said, great to hear small tire racing is on fire. It really is, man. And that's another event series that we need to get up to. Cash at the Creek, Aaron Van Heel's No Prep series that goes on up in Minnesota. It's actually really popping off.
When
and he's got
that?
some real, I don't know. I think they're done for the year now. I mean, it's probably 70 below zero in Minnesota right now.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
They're
But I do
shoveling
believe
out
they're
already.
done for the year. They're shoveling out right now.
Hasn't Brian Carpenter won that deal like 10 years in a row or something?
He's won like the last 77 races in a row, something like that. And
Aaron always messages me that you're I forget what he's got something to say. We're not related, obviously, but he's like, your more successful cousin Brian Carpenter won another race.
You're more successful cousin Brian. 79 and sunny, Aaron says. And he says it's not no prep, it's light prep. And I do think that that's kind of an interesting thing. And that's another thing that exists down here in Texas, where it's not no prep. It's
Man, you
just
got to work
not
hard.
radio
You
prep.
got to really work hard to get no prep. If you're racing on a track that has been prepped well at any point in the recent past, I mean, it's hard to get that thing truly no prep.
It really is, man. And I don't know that I'm kind of lukewarm on the notion, to be honest. I kind of like this light prep. I think it still makes it challenging. It still makes it so it's not a battle of the wallets and the track's going to take whatever you throw at it. But it feels like there's various ways to skin this cat. What else was there was a couple other things. Garrett Richards, 2024 West Coast Pro Mod champ, locked it up last weekend at Mission Raceway. Congratulations to Garrett Richards, big fan of Pro Mod racing. I'm actually not familiar with Garrett Richards. So, Ryan, being that you're on Facebook, would you send me a message? Because I'd like to know more about what he's up to. That's pretty exciting. Anybody who's winning championships are on my radar for sure. So exciting stuff. What else we got going on, guys? I'm excited to head this weekend to hang out with my buddy Jason Dukes and Tommy Cunningham from Stroud Safety. We're going to go check out the GT America. What's it called? GT America World. I can't remember what the whole thing is
SRO.
called. Yeah, SRO is like the parent company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, SRO Motorsports. But going to a road race this weekend. Looking forward to that, man. It's a busy time, dude. It's hard to believe that it's October. I mean, I literally can't. I guess I'm getting old, dude. Oh, I know.
They
what I was
say
gonna
time
talk
accelerates as you get older.
Well, it surely seems like it.
Well, I mean, we've got let's take a look ahead at the schedule. So NHRA's off this weekend, right? Yeah. Then you got Dallas.
PDRA this weekend in Galat.
Yep. Dallas next weekend. PDRA in Galat this weekend. No Prep Kings Rockingham next weekend.
Rockingham will be lit for that. I think that'll be a good crowd.
No Prep Kings in Tulsa this weekend.
Yep. Tulsa, and then they head to Rockingham, and then it wraps up in Dallas, correct?
Yeah, then they go to Dallas.
Yeah, I thought so.
That was a hell of an event. Race. Yeah, when we went a few years ago, that was a hell of an event.
It'll be packed. I mean, it's like that's the thing that I think
Rockingham, let's talk about Rockingham for a minute. Sorry to derail, but
no, you're good.
Rockingham and the new owners and ownership, I haven't met them yet. The name's escaping me right now, but they are doing a hell of a job with that place. And I don't know if you've seen some of the renovations of the tower. that they were doing, like a VIP suite? I mean, it looks badass in there. It's
dude,
like
the woodwork,
yeah,
the woodworking in the talent is, or in the tower is like straight out of like your local fancy bar.
Yeah,
like it's really nice dark woods. And
they saved a lot of the mirrors and
done.
glass, I think, that were in various parts of the tower that had like Winston and old stuff on it. Some of the old heritage of that track is being preserved, and the track surface as well. A lot of guys here in Charlotte or this area are going testing at Rockingham before heading out to NHRA national.
That's something that you told me, Mike,
races.
That it's kind of establishing itself quickly as the new destination for pro level testing.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's really cool to see that. Rockingham is always one of my favorite tracks. I've always loved I mean, so many big events there in the history of drag racing, from the Winston shootouts to the
ADRL drag stock,
legend, the never to be duplicated ADRL drag. Was it drag stock 2?
Yeah, drag stock 3. That
drag
was so insane.
Yeah, first 2 were at Carolina Dragway. Yeah,
I watched a dude get knocked out in the concession stand line over the last Diet Coke at drag stock 3.
We had people.
I was
people
back behind the
coming
line
to our trailer. Like, I mean, we would give these people no matter what, but they would come up like, I've been standing. Me and my daughter was standing in line for 2 hours trying to get a bottle of water. Can we have a bottle of water? And we're like, yes, please. Take what you need. Like, I mean, it was absolutely insane. Somebody threw a bottle of water on the track in front of my dad's car. If you remember that,
I do remember that.
Carolina
man. It was the first
there.
time I'd ever seen people launch.
Carolina kids they're testing right now.
Oh yeah, getting ready for PDRA.
Mm-hmm.
Gearing up for the Drag Illustrated Winter Series, man. It's exciting, dude. It's Kyle Kramer in the comments, 117 Pro Mods. It really is crazy. And this is what the point that I've been trying to make for freaking 20 years is that's, I mean, I talked about it earlier this week, and I want to give a shout out to the team and the family at Eddyville Raceway Park, Carl Chevrolet in Ankeny, Iowa, everybody, the Moyer family, Penny, everybody involved. Or everybody that was connected to Carl Moyer. We lost Carl earlier this week. He was 83 years old, and he was one of my first business mentors, taught me a lot, gave me my first job in drag racing. And I've believed in Pro Mod since I met Carl, just that I felt like these were cars that looked like cars that were driven by cowboys and cowgirls that owned them, worked on them themselves. And it's always felt like the highest level of grassroots drag racing to me. It's certainly professional, but it's still guys that race on the weekends as a hobby, by and large, that do this for all the right reasons. And those are where the stories come from. Those are where the big characters and the big personalities come from that are not reliant on corporate sponsors to do what they do. They own their own stuff in many cases. And I think it just creates a dynamic that doesn't really exist anywhere else in drag racing. And when you think about how many of them there are, I mean, high level teams number in the couple hundred at least, what I would call A flight Pro Mod cars that exist in North America alone. And if you factor in all the people that are kind of building their program or developing their program or relatively new, I mean, it's probably more like 400, 500, 600 of these cars around the globe. And when you think about the significance of that investment, all those race cars, all those parts and pieces, all those weekends off, all those days away, all those miles traveled, this is a group of people that I think could really be the future of our sport and the face of this game moving forward. And look no further than 117 race teams that have expressed interest in being a part of the world's the Drag Illustrated Winter Series tells me everything I need to know. And a very, very exciting time to be a part of this sport, in my opinion, man.
It is.
Drag racing.
I found a picture of that you guys talking about there.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like so slick. Look at the ceiling. What's that called?
Coffered.
Yeah.
Coffered ceiling. If you flip the camera around, or if they had a picture from the other view, it's like a bar with glass and stuff like there. It's really, really nice, man.
It's really
cool to see people take that track and carry it on into
it deserves
the next generation.
And honestly, I will close with this. One of the things I'm most excited about is the Drag Illustrated Winter Series and the opportunity to provide race fans and racers and our sponsors and the manufacturers and all the stakeholders in this sport with the type of events they deserve. When I look at events like the Texas Stampede of Speed, what I see is something that our fan base deserves. I think our fan base deserves to see these events evolve. I think they deserve to get the same type of experience they would have at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, that at the Texas Motorplex. I mean, and we can't obviously replicate all those things. The economies are different, right? And we're an outdoor sport, so there's only so much we can do. But we do have to, strive to be matching the experience that sports fans and fans of music fans and various other endeavors are having at the drag strip. And I think that there are a handful of people that are kind of leading the charge in taking our sport to that proverbial next level. And that's what I'm probably most excited about. Like, we're going to see great racing.
Well, it's in the next generation too.
All those
to see
things.
Christie and her husband taking it. And that's like, we're talking about the new Rockingham owners here. It's like, you could do anything with that property, right? Down there in Ennis or Rockingham or whatever. There's probably housing developments getting closer and closer there in Ennis. And with the a plot of land that large, you could sell that and do whatever and be done with this, pretty consistent uphill battle that can be drag racing and owning a drag racing or a facility like that. But
be there, no doubt.
And remember the flood deal they had or whatever a few years ago. The freeze, right? And the pipes burst and ruined the tower, and they had to completely rebuild the place. And they're continuing to forge forward and fight through those battles and reinvent that place and carry it, make it revolutionary for the next generation. So to me, it's always inspirational to see people continue to fight that battle and not, I'm done with this. I've gotten what I want to get out of it, or the property is worth more than it's worth for me to keep this open as a racetrack. To see people continue to operate it as a drag strip or as a facility for other events makes me feel really good about the future of the sport.
You and me both, man. I got to show this. This is the first pro modified car I ever fell in love with. Right here, guys.
Memphis.
Carl Moyer's ZR1 Corvette in Memphis. I saw that car for the first time amongst a host of other hot rods that Carl had up at Eddyville Raceway Park in Iowa. His 57 Chevy that was kind of later in his career was probably my one of my favorite pro mods. But believe it or not, there's really not a lot of great photos of that car on the internet. I'm going to have to.
There's a good one. You need to go over there. I should grab it. Tim Wallace posted a great shot from Drag Racer magazine, 30 years ago. It's signed by Carl. It's like a glamour shot. They set it up in the studio or whatever and got this really awesome shot of that 57.
This is the best one I could find. It's all pixelated. Mm-hmm. But anyways, that car
didn't that become Bob Rieger's car, or am I dreaming?
I think so. Maybe somebody in the comments can that car's lifespan. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think that may be right. And then where did the car that your dad crew chiefed on, the 57 Chevy, I can't think of that kid's name.
Oh, Pat Doherty.
Where'd that car come from? That 57 Chevy.
That was not Carl's car. That was a car that was built. Actually, Paul Albino and Mark Markow.
Built that car?
Yeah, up in the Northeast. Okay. That car's still out. It's still out racing somewhere. I've actually seen it recently. Really sharp looking car.
I wish we could get some of those, like a 57 Chevy back in pro mod, like at a high level. I mean, Let's see Tony Wilson in the gang.
If 57 Chevy, you can weigh whatever you want to weigh at the winter series.
You can weigh 2250 and come out and run 340s or whatever. No, it would be great to have them.
I think there's some like screw blown 57s out there right now that are running to their shop. Reach out to us if you got one, and maybe we'll talk to you.
Yeah, because I do think that we need more of those vintage.
We do. I mean, someone commented earlier. We were talking about like the continual march to pro mod that all these classes take, and someone said, "I will take the body styles and the car diversity of No Prep Kings over pro mod," and I can't disagree with them. I mean, in a lot of ways, I look at No Prep Kings right now as what pro mod was supposed to be,
used to be,
and should have been. And in these cars, like you would see cars roll out with steel roof and quarters. Not everybody had the full latest and greatest Bickle.
Well, and it was like as much about like displaying your personality as it was being competitive.
And it was about, what it was about too? It was about, that Camaro or a 63 Corvette, full carbon body, latest car from Jerry Bickle or Tim McCamus is going to be faster. And it's like, yeah, but I want to make this,
Chevy Astro van
that I built myself and that my family's had for 2 generations. We've been making it quicker. I want to make it competitive in this class. And that was the battle you fought for your own like self-pride or whatever, and you garnered the respect of the fans and of your competitors doing it that way. That a lot of early Pro Mod was kind of based around that I feel like a lot of people don't remember, and we've gotten so far away from now.
Well, and it's interesting because it where we're at right now is there's this transition happening. And I point to a handful of people that have like built brands that go beyond just the car. You know, like I think about, honestly, people probably get tired of this reference, but I was just talking to him or texting with him earlier today. You know, Justin Swanstrom, he's not necessarily known for a singular car, right? I mean, he's driven a slew of different hot rods since he made his kind of big arrival in the sport of drag racing, but he's built a personal brand that's more rooted in him. And I think that's what we're going to kind of continue to see. And I think that we're going to see the cars are always going to have a special place because this is drag racing, right? They're always going to be prominent. But I do think that there's some happy medium for us to find, Mike. Like your dad, I think, became this very visible star type celebrity in drag racing. And he was, you know, married to the 55 Chevy, but late in his career as a racer, you know, he switched to a 68 Camaro, kind of had to keep up with the Joneses and wanted to be competitive. So he did, but I don't think it
changed,
diminished his status really any. It's kind of like it's a perfect storm when you've got a big personality, a colorful character, and a very dynamic race car, or a very unique race car. But it does put
a lot of those early guys though everybody had a unique car, and everybody had a personality go along with it too. I don't want to make it all about the car, but if you think about this, all right, Carl Moyer is an example. This is not a guy that you're going to think of as being outlandish or anything, but he had a personality. He was like, I don't know, what's like a comp you would make or whatever. Always buttoned up, had the nice stuff. He was like,
people think I'm joking when I say that he had a smooth side trailer before anybody knew what a smooth side trailer even was. He would have the panels of his trailer that were painted at, you know, Hallmark or whoever built the trailer. He would have those panels removed and then have his body shop at Carl Chevrolet in Ankeny, Iowa, repaint them so that they would be perfect. Other teams, I remember going to his pits. He always pitted in the same place at Eddyville, right on the side of the track that was very rarely open, the spectator side that we only opened on like holiday weekends or whatever. But he would always pit over there right behind the grandstands, and he'd have these beautiful rigs, smooth side trailers. And instead of, you know, lawn chairs like all of us, you know, had camp chairs, folding chairs, he would have black leather lazy boy recliners sitting out there to sit in. I mean, the way they had crew jerseys, that was his whole deal. Is and everything was polished, everything was shiny.
That ran counter to someone else who had, you know, I don't know, Frankie Taylor is always comes to mind.
They're sitting on the ground,
right? And that's what made Frankie and his operation, you know, stand out. And everyone had a different thing. So the driver a lot of times matched the personality of the car, and it was really a cool deal. A lot of what you see now, like out of monster trucks, and even we think back to wrestling and stuff, it all kind of has to go together, where that driver personality and the way they present themselves matches the car. Like you want to talk about Justin Swanstrom, I think his cars, they go out, they paint this, it rolls out, it's beautiful and painted and everything looks right. First pass, it's got duct tape on it, and they're taping the thing back together because they're running the absolute dog shit out of it to be competitive.
It's a tool.
And it's a tool. And so to me, I always think of that, like that matches their personality to me a little bit.
No, I couldn't agree more, man. And I think that's the name of the game at this point in time. And I think it was great to hear Christie Meyer kind of acknowledge that, because that's going to be the next step for our sport, or one of the next steps, is if we can get the people that are involved, these personalities, these people that have something of a fan following, if we can marry the efforts, you know, of all these people racing, you know, all these track operators and promoters and whatnot, with an equal push from the drivers, there could be some real magic happen. I know that's something that we're working on with the Winter Series, is arming these men and women with as much material and promotional material as we possibly can so they can help us grow this deal. Because when they grow, there's more to go around, and we can do more stuff, and we can, you know, pay more money, and we can have more fancy stuff. I mean, that's kind of the name of the game, man. It's an exciting time.
Yeah,
JT, cue the music. Let's wrap this bad boy up. Appreciate all you guys. Want to give a shout out just to everybody that supports this program every week. It's crazy how blessed we are to get to come join you guys and talk about drag racing, something that we all love, spend our entire lives dedicated to. So to be able to come and share these stories with you guys and talk shop, it's worth its weight in gold, man. I'm excited to get out to the Motorplex this week and next. We got a whole lot of work to do out there. But man, exciting times, Mike. Appreciate you, buddy.
Yep.
JT, Blake, thanks for your help. Huge shout out to Stan Shelton, Christie Meyer-Johnson from the Texas Motorplex. Appreciate you guys joining us. And lastly, and as always, thank you to all of you that help us spread the gospel of drag racing. Remember, really helps us a ton if you subscribe to the channel. If you're following along on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. It really helps out a lot and gets this type of programming in front of more people. So we appreciate all the help we can get. The sport needs it, and so do we. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
See you next Wednesday.
Yep. See you.
Thanks, gang.